start on our backs in a starfish position. So as you come on down, let your feet be nice and wide to the outer edges of your mat, and then arms are going to come up and overhead. So like you're making a little 5-pointed star. And then just once you find your way here, just give a second, let everything find its way. So you want to kind of settle your hips in, settle your shoulder blades in. And then you choose the variation with your arms that works good for you. So if that more up and overhead position doesn't work good, maybe just a little out to the side so that you make sure that your shoulders can soften and relax here. And then once you've got yourself settled into sort of a situation that feels fairly comfortable, take a second to just tune into your hips or your butt, basically where your butt is touching the ground. And you might notice a slight curve in the low back. And then see if you can just take a nice full breath here. Fill your abdomen up. So let your lungs fill up so that it inflates the belly a little bit. And then as you exhale, can you imagine your low back kind of softening nice and heavy into the earth? Inhale another nice full breath, let your lungs fill up. And then this time as you exhale, can you imagine the backs of your ribs getting heavier into the earth? Inhale another nice full breath. And then this time as you exhale, soften the back of your neck and let the back of your head get nice and heavy into the earth. And then see if you can find a sort of natural rhythm of breath here, just allowing your body to be soft on the ground. Notice if there's any parts of your body that are taking a little bit longer to relax into this shape. Take a moment here to just kind of listen into the sounds of the room that you're working in or the sounds of your house. And then before we move away from this place, take a moment here to set an intention to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice. Never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. And then with that intention set, bring some gentle movement into your fingers and into your toes, just a little bit of wiggling of the feet and wiggling of the hands so that we just start to find some motion there. And then when you feel ready, you're just going to let your arms come down alongside your body in a more relaxed position and then step your feet in. We're going to take just a couple of gentle windshield wipers before we find our way to our first posture. So drop your knees gently side to side, just to bring a little bit of gentle movement into the hips, a little bit of soothing into your low back. One more swish of the knees side to side. And then our first posture that we're going to come to is our Bananasana. So as your knees come back to center, you're going to push into your feet, lift your hips up away from the floor, and then shift your hips over to the right or to the right side of your mat. And then from here, walk your feet down to the left corner of your mat. So feet are over to the left, hips are over to the right. So we're making a nice little curve shape with the body, or a little crescent shape. And then you might choose to stop here. You might choose to stay here with your hands down at your sides. When you were in that starfish position, if you noticed there was a lot of tension in your shoulders and the upper body, then you might opt to just stay down here in this lower position with the arms. But if your arms were feeling good and your shoulders were feeling good, then maybe you reach your arms up and overhead and increase that curve. So now your arms are reaching towards the left top corner of your mat, feet down to the left bottom corner of your mat, and your hips are over to the right. And then once you find a position that's going to work really great for your body, invite some softness in. Let your shoulders be fairly soft, and then let go of any efforting that you might be holding up in your arms. So if you found that reach up and overhead, then let your arms be soft and heavy. And then take a moment here just to tune into your breath. Notice your inhalation. Notice your exhalation. Notice if you're efforting down in your feet. Can you soften your feet? Can you soften your shins and your calves? We're about halfway through our hold in this posture on this side. So if you notice, if you've lost a little sensation, now you might choose to stack your right foot on top of your left or crisscross your ankles. So that'll just draw you maybe possibly a little bit deeper into that side bend. But if it doesn't add any benefit, you can leave it off if it doesn't feel good. But then once you've moved, if you've stacked your foot, then invite some soft heaviness back in. Soften your legs, soften your shoulders, soften through the side of your body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to come out. So if your foot was stacked, you might choose to start there and then release your torso, walk your feet in so that you can shift your hips back to the center of your mat. And then once you've come back to the center of your mat, pause just for a moment and notice. Notice your shoulders, notice your arms, notice the right side of your body. Maybe take a gentle windshield wiper or two of the legs just to bring some fluid back into the low back and into the hips. And then when you feel good and ready, we'll start to set up to the other side. So as your knees come back to center, push into your feet, lift your hips and shift your hips over to the left side of your mat now. And then walk your feet down to the right corner of your mat. See how that feels. Start there. And that might be enough. You might already be finding that side bend position and it feels really comfortable. But if it feels good, but you want that little bit more, now you might choose to reach your arms up and overhead and shift your arms to the top right corner of your mat. So feet and hands to the right, hips are over to the left. So now we're creating a side bend through the left side of the body. And then once you feel like you've found your way there, invite some softness back in. Soften your arms, soften your shoulders. And we're halfway through our hold on this side. So now if you feel like you've lost sensation, you might choose to stack your left foot on top of the right, but only if that feels beneficial. If you feel like you're already there and you're getting plenty of a good stretch through the side of your body and you were feeling good there, then just leave it off and do what feels the best to your body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly come out. So if your foot is stacked, go ahead and release that first. Bring everything back to center. Walk your feet in. So knees are bent. And then step your feet a little bit wider so that you have about shoulder width distance, maybe even further towards the edges of your mat. And then come back to those windshield wipers. And then see if you can just increase the range of motion in those windshield wipers a little bit, dropping your knees from side to side. Awesome. Take one more little swish of the knees side to side. And then we're going to start to find our way up into a seated ragdoll position. So take your time as you sit yourself up, and we're going to keep our feet about shoulder width distance apart with a nice generous bend in the knees. So think of lifting the belly up and over so that you can fold forward and let your belly and your chest rest on your thighs. So you want to keep that bent knee position. And then you're going to find whatever handhold works good for you. I like personally to catch hold of my toes, but some people like to touch the floor or the shins. So whatever handhold is going to work good for you. And then see if you can just invite some softening into the back of your body. As you're here, this rather than this being like a forward fold where we're kind of getting into the hamstrings, think of this as a place where we can find space for the low back. So we want to tune into the breath here. There's a little bit of compression of your belly against your thighs. And then see if you can just notice your breath. Notice the breath in the back of your ribs, in the space between your shoulder blades, and then maybe you'll even notice it in your low back. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to walk yourself up. Step your feet in a little bit closer. We're going to catch hold of the knees and take a little seated cat-cow here. So as you inhale, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulder blades, arch your back a little bit, and then exhale, curl back a little bit, hang onto your knees so you can bring a little space into the shoulders. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale to round. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. And then we're going to keep this bent knee position and move into our Eastern stretch. So with that bent knee position, now hands are going to come behind the back and fingertips are going to be pointing towards your butt. And in a yang or a flow yoga class, what this would eventually become is a plank, or with your heart facing upward. So we're going to keep the knees bent, fingertips pointing towards the butt, but we're going to press fairly firmly into the hands and into the arms. So we're going to get a little squeeze between the shoulder blades, opening through the chest and the collarbones. And then it's a slightly more active position here. So we do have a little bit of efforting in the arms to find that work. And then just see if you can soften through the collarbones, through the front of your chest, even though there's that efforting going on with the arms and in between the shoulder blades. A slight lift in the chin if that feels comfortable, or you'll tuck your chin down to your chest. So you're going to choose whatever works best for your head and to your neck, but see if you can still invite that softness across the front of your chest, even as you find that effort through the back of the body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. So start by softening the elbows, move your wrists a little bit. You may have found a little effort in the wrists and in the hands. Wiggle all of that out. And then when you feel like you've got all of that worked out, bring a little shrug into your shoulders. And then just notice you might find a little blood flow back into the shoulder blades. So just move all of that around. And then once you feel like you've kind of got all of that dull ache worked out, we're going to swing the legs out to one side. So now we're going to start to find our way into our deer posture. And we're going to take it right into a fold. So one leg out bent in front of you, one leg bent out to the side. And then once you've got yourself there, fold yourself forward to a depth that works good for you. So you might not be too far forward. You might choose to stay a little bit more upright and just let your hands support. But if it feels available, you can come down elbows and forearms, or come all the way down into that sleeping position. But if you get here and this deer position is not for you, but you like a pigeon, you might choose to slide that outer leg back and come into more of a pigeon position, but only if that feels like it's going to be beneficial. You can stay in this deer posture and find some softness here. You might find sensation in the inner thigh or the outer edge of your hip. So just make sure that it's a good and happy sensation and your knees feel good about it. Once you've got a position that works good for your body, soften the muscles, especially around the inner thighs, outer edges of your hips, and your glutes. See where in your legs can you find softness. Take one more breath here. And then if you are in that folded over position, take your time as you bring yourself back up. We're going to swing both legs out in front with a nice bent knee position. So take your time as you swing those legs out, and then take a couple of windshield wipers just to kind of soothe everything out, make sure it all feels good. You can even extend the legs long, maybe take a little forward fold just to bring a little length back into the backs of the legs. And then once you feel like you've got everything kind of worked out, we're going to swing those legs right to the other side. So find your deer pose to the other side. One leg in front, other leg out to the side. Make sure everything feels like it's arranged comfortably, and then fold over to a depth that is appropriate for you. And if you don't like that deer posture with that leg bent out to the side, slide that leg back and take it into your pigeon, but only if that feels beneficial. If you've got some mischief going on with your knees and this feels like a better way to go, take it here. But if it feels available to let the leg be bent, fold yourself to a depth that feels right, and then invite that quiet softness back in. Take one more breath here. And when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself up. We're going to swing those legs out and around in front. Just take a second to soothe all that out. So maybe some windshield wipers, maybe just a little bit of bend and straighten of the legs, or maybe take a little forward fold just to bring a little length back into the backs of the legs. And then when you feel ready, we're going to spin the legs around so that we find our way into a tabletop position. So as you come onto all fours, just check in with your knees if you need to cushion your knees or double stack your mat, because we have 2 rounds of thread the needle. So we just want to make sure knees feel comfortable on the ground. And once you've got your way into a tabletop, if you needed to cushion your knees, take a second to do it. And then once you feel like you're there, right hand is going to thread through and underneath. So your right shoulder are going to be to the ground. And then you'll play around with whatever works good for your left hand. I personally like to reach my left hand up towards the top edge of my mat, but some people like to reach it up to the sky or tuck it behind for a half bind. So whatever variation there works good for you. And then once you found a position that's good, invite your softness back in. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself back up, finding your way back to a tabletop position. Take your time. And then once you found your way there, maybe just a couple of little shrugs of the shoulders, a little bit of movement of that thoracic spine, their upper back body. And then once you feel like you've kind of got things worked out, we're going to take it right over to the other side. So left hand is going to thread through and underneath, left ear, left shoulder to the ground. And then whatever variation you like for your right arm. I like to reach mine to the top of the mat, but you can choose to take it up to the sky or tuck it behind you, whatever feels like a sustainable position. And then once you feel like you found your way there, soften. Soften your muscles best you can. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself back up and out, finding your way back up to that tabletop position, but take your time. And then as you come up, find a little bit of movement in the shoulders and the upper body. And then from here, just checking in, noticing how your knees feel. We're going to move right into our frog pose. So I personally like to slide my knees out on a hard surface so that they can sort of fall into place. But I'm going to turn sideways just for visual, and then I'll move my body again. So we're going to start to walk our knees out to a distance that works good for you. Everybody's range of motion here is going to be super different. So just find a depth that works right for your body. Knees are going to be fairly in line with the hips. And then the legs are going to be in a 90-degree bend. So we want to try and keep the heels in line with the knees in line with the hips. Once you've got your way there, you might notice that you need a little support. So here's where a stack of pillows might be super beneficial. And then just make sure that it's a depth that's going to be sustainable. Once you've found a position that's going to work good for you, invite some softness in. When I do this position, I do have to offer a little support in the shoulders and the upper body. So I find there is a little bit of efforting there, but to the best of my ability, I like to try to relax the inner thigh muscles, the outer thigh muscles, my glutes as best I can. So see if you can invite that softness in with as much effort as feels appropriate to support the position so that you're not collapsing into your body too much. Also to note that you could take this variation on your backside with your feet up against the wall or up against the edge of your bed. So if you choose to flip around onto your back, just step your feet to that wide position. And then you want to see if you can just maintain that 90-degree angle with the legs. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself out. If you're belly down, walk your knees into a comfortable position and then come up to your tabletop. If you're on your backside, go ahead and release your legs and then just maybe hug your knees into your chest. Find just a little bit of gentle movement here that sort of soothes all of that out. And then once you feel like you've got it worked out, we're going to spin our legs around, sitting back onto our butt and moving right into a seated twist. So for this particular twist, the ideal would be to bend one knee and then you're going to take the opposite hand or elbow across that knee. So you might need to vary where you place that leg so it's a comfortable enough position. And then if you find hooking your elbow across there doesn't work, then just wrap your hand around so you get a little handhold. With the handhold, you do have to effort a little bit more. So if you can get that elbow across the knee, finding that little hook allows you to kind of soften and let go of any efforting. Then you just got that sort of leverage there. But if that doesn't work, good. if that doesn't work good for your proportions, then you're just going to get a little handhold. But we ideally want to soften the muscle tissues through the torso and the center of the body. So find the handhold that works right, and then see if you can just find some softness here. You can close your eyes down if that feels available, or just soften your chin, soften the back of your neck. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. So if your elbow is hooked across the thigh, go ahead and release it. And then send that leg nice and long. Bounce out your knees, wiggle out your shoulders. If you found any efforting in that arm from your handhold, wriggle all of that out. And then once you feel like you've kind of gotten some of that stuff loosened up, we're going to take it right to the other side. So slide your other leg in, and then you'll choose where you step it, maybe wider, maybe closer. That's totally up to you. And then you might choose to just wrap your hand around, finding that handhold, or if it feels available, you're going to slip the elbow to the outer edge of the thigh, and then let that little bit of leverage draw you a little deeper into that twist. So you're going to find that hold that works best for you, and then invite some softness in. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to unwind. So if that elbow is hooked across the leg, release it. Release your leg nice and long, shrug out your shoulders, wiggle out your elbows, wiggle out your knees. Make sure you work everything out that you may have come across there. And then when you feel like you've got it all worked out, we're going to come down onto our backside. So take your time as you lower your way down. And then as you come to your backside, we're going to take it into a shoelace pose, but from our back. So lift your legs up into a tabletop position. We're going to cross the right leg over the left, like you're crossing your legs in a chair. And then once you've got your legs crossed, you're going to grab. So you'll either grab the shins or the tops of the feet, whatever handhold works good for you. And then think about pulling the toes slightly away from each other as you draw the knees in. And then from here, with your right leg on top, if you like, turn your head to the left and then just stay in that position. So you're going to let your knees get heavy towards your chest, allowing your breath to do the work for you here. Soften your feet, soften your shoulders. You may find a little efforting in your hand hold, but see where else can you soften and let go. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. Unwind your legs, step them out nice and wide to the outer edges of your mat. Take a couple of windshield wipers just to bring some fluid back into the hips. And then once you feel like you've got that worked out, maybe just take a second to assess your hands and your wrists. So if you had a handhold that required a little bit of efforting in your hands, just make sure you wiggle out your fingers. And then when you feel good and ready, we're going to set up to the other side. So lift your legs back up into tabletop position. Now left leg is going to come across the right, and then we're going to re-grab. So you might choose to grab the shins or the top of the feet, whatever handhold works good for you. And then as you draw the feet away from each other, knees into the chest, now we're going to turn the head to the right. So with the left leg on top, head's going to turn to the right. Once you found your way there, come back to that soft stillness. Some efforting in the hands to keep that handhold, but see if you can soften your glute muscles, soften your thighs, soften your shoulders. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to release. Turn your head back to center, releasing your handhold. Unwind your legs, step your feet out nice and wide to the outer edges of your mat. Come back to those windshield wipers. And then here, if it feels good, arms are going to draw up into cactus or goalpost position. And as you windshield wipe your knees, you're going to turn your head as well. So head's going to turn in the opposite direction of your knees. Take one more time each side. And then before we find our way to Shavasana, we're going to come back to that starfish position or to that 5-pointed star. So you're going to walk your feet nice and long to the outer edges of your mat, reach your arms up and overhead, and then just take a moment here to notice. Can you soften your ribs? Can you soften your shoulders? Can relax your hips and your butt? Take a nice deep breath. Great. And then from here, start to find your way into a Shavasana that makes sense to you. So whatever position of the body will feel the most restful. And if you're in a cold room or in a chilly space, maybe throw your socks back on, your sweater or your blanket, just so you feel nice and tucked in. And so you don't come out of your Shavasana feeling stiff or cold. If you notice that your low back was feeling a little pinchy or achy tonight, you might choose to come to constructive rest with the feet to the outer edges of your mat and let your knees drop in towards each other. If things were feeling really nice and you liked that starfish position, you might choose to come back to that, or any other variation of the body that feels good and lets you find some stillness. Start to bring your awareness back into your body. Gently wake up your fingers and wiggle your toes. If it feels good to do so, maybe turn your head a little side to side, invite some gentle movement back into your cervical spine, and find a little massage to the back of the head. And then if your legs were extended long, if you took that more traditional shape, maybe step your feet in so you find a nice bent knee position. And then from here, we're just going to pull both knees up into the chest and then just find a nice little rock side to side, just to kind of soothe out the low back, bring some gentle movement back in so that you don't come up and out of your Shavasana immediately with any stiffness. And then once you feel like you've kind of got things rocked out, things feel good, then slowly start to find your way up to a seated position. So you might choose to rock and roll up. You might choose to roll to one side, anything that feels good and gets you there. And then maybe come to Sukhasana with legs crossed or any other seated position that lets you sit up nice and tall. Nice. And then once you've found your way there, eyes closed down for a moment, just let your hands rest wherever feels the most comfortable. Take a nice, generous breath in, fill your lungs up. And as you exhale, just think about letting your shoulders get a little softer away from your ears. And then another nice full breath in, fill your lungs up. Exhale, let your shoulders soften and let your arms get a little soft and heavy. And one more breath, just like that. Nice full deep breath, fill your lungs up. Exhale, let your shoulders soften, let your arms soften. And then when you feel ready, gather your hands together in Anjali Mudra. So prayer hands at heart, thumbs to sternum, and bow your head to your heart. And breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for the time that you take to take care of yourself. Breathe in a little extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your night and share with everyone you see. And then when you feel ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy, happy Monday.